1380 KCIM Sports presents KCIM Sports Rewind. A look back at the week in high school sports. Brought to you by St. Anthony Rehab Services. Here's Sports Director Jeff Blankman, John Ryan, and Jeff Honnold.
It's KCIM Sports Rewind, and it's already starting off on a contentious note.
Paranoid, are we?
What are you guys talking about over there? What's going on?
Paranoid a little?
But you know what? Paranoia is only a good idea when everyone is out to get you. So we all know that.
I've never seen anybody, though, so panicked about two people having a conversation.
About the money we lost.
I'm not concerned about two people having a conversation. I'm concerned about you guys having a conversation when I can't hear it. So that's my concern. Going on with all that.
I resemble that remark.
It is KCIM Sports Rewind here on air at 1380 AM, 95.1 FM, and streaming online right now on KCIM's Facebook page, plus the Johnston Communication page. And big news, we almost hit that milestone last week. We got 924 views.
Oh, wow.
On
nice.
KCIM Rewind. So this week we're gaming for 1,000 views this week, and if we do, Jason and Chelsea, who are safely tucked away in the corner over here, are going to provide a prize. And Chelsea came up with a brilliant marketing promotion. I got to say, this is just
I almost threw up in my mouth when I heard
sheer genius. We are giving away a date with Jeff Blankman.
I'm glad I didn't know anything about that.
Yeah. You'll spend a fun-filled evening where in.
So we're either going.
Pomeroy, you're not eligible.
Any gymnasium you want. You pick the venue.
So are we going to get advertisers like antacids going here? Or, with all the people watching, we may need to get some eye doctors and definitely hearing people, because if they're listening to us, they're in trouble. But
well, see, I'm just wondering, with 900 and some views last week, did Pomeroy fall on and off that many times, or was this unique views?
Somebody had to run it for him.
But we're aiming for 1,000 this week. So
do you think Randy Snyder's ever watched it?
I don't know. He probably hasn't been able to pull it up on his flip phone.
As I say, your flip phone generally does not get video. So I got a couple things I got to mention here. First, I'm sitting home this weekend and flipping through the channels, and guess what I come across? Maybe the greatest televised sporting event ever.
I saw that. Yeah.
The National Collegiate Cornhole Championship. These college kids are playing cornhole on ESPN.
With uniforms.
Yeah, with uniforms and sponsors as well. And by the way, just in case you're wondering, North Carolina State beat Arkansas 24-12
Do you know
to capture the championship.
Do you know there's a National Professional Cornhole League?
Yeah.
I saw that on ESPN, along with an axe-throwing one. I'm thinking if you do
I did see the axe-throwing the other day.
So if you do the
that
drinking
was great.
right, I think they ought to combine them with a drinking game. I would actually watch if they were drinking and doing those games. But see, I don't know how you play cornhole and you don't have a beverage in one hand and throw it.
It's a balance thing for you, is it?
It's almost illegal for the way they do it.
I'm surprised Jeff doesn't have some Nebraska cornhole
We don't have a cornhole
trivia.
team as far as I'm aware, but
yes,
I will do some research.
You do.
Okay. I guess I'll have to start following them.
Now you got a gun for NC State because they're the champion.
I'm sorry, I got a Facebook post yesterday sent to me. Do you know what they did in Nebraska? Some idiot went out there and just scraped off the N in the middle of their stadium. That's the only thing they touched. They got to keep it uncovered.
That's it?
That's it.
No.
Why not? So that way when you fly over, you see beauty. The end.
You know where to bomb?
The other thing I got, check this out. I read this on Twitter the other day. Northwestern College up in Orange City.
Yeah.
They are adding esports to their varsity sports.
Are you kidding? Believe that.
So we're going to have to start talking about Grand Theft Auto and Call of Duty here on KCIM Sports Rewind.
We will have kids from the area that will go there. I'll guarantee it.
I kids from the area that'll do well there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I will retire before that happens here on KCIM Sports Rewind. I guarantee you that.
Yeah, I haven't played a video game in 12, 14 years.
Does the word Pong mean anything to you?
Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah. Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mario Brothers.
Actually,
Frogger.
We used to call it, when I got to college, we called it Nintendo Thumb.
Mm-hmm.
So we played so much football that you had calluses on the inside.
Yeah.
So, that's, I'm getting close to 30 years there. So
the day you can earn a scholarship by playing Frogger or something like that is the day, it's irrelevant.
It's growing. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. It is absolutely growing.
But to call it a sport, really?
No, I know. I know.
I got to draw the line there.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk real sports here. We got a couple of athletes around the area that hit milestones. First of all, we got to talk about Maddie Jones, the outstanding point guard from the South Central Calhoun Titans.
Yeah, she became the all-time leading scorer in South Central Calhoun history last Tuesday night. Just another big game for her as she's continued to do throughout her career, and ends up passing the great Haley Burks, who had been
Great?
all day. Yeah, well,
We like Haley. It's Allison.
So what a career. You look at those two players and what Maddie's been able to accomplish, because Haley's went on, of course, to Northwestern College and has had a really terrific career up there, and for Maddie to be able to pass her and now to follow her in a way up to Northwestern is kind of cool. So, still not done yet. Got half of the season, or not quite half of the season yet to go. So she'll end up breaking that record by a pretty decent amount.
I mean, you talk about those two players, completely opposite players.
Yes.
They did it in completely different ways, but obviously Haley Burks, great post player, down low. Maddie Jones runs the show up top.
Yeah.
But both of them are fierce competitors.
Yes.
And they'll go on the floor. Haley spends her life on the floor.
Yep.
I think if she could figure out how to shoot from the floor, she'd never get up, because every time you see her, she gets knocked over. But I love when Danner's taking pictures of her. She's always got, it's either a facial expression or she's on the floor or both.
Yeah.
But Maddie Jones, not afraid to go to the floor. I mean,
Right.
she's going to go, and she's going to do everything she can to help her team win. Scoring for her is both those girls just scored because it was available,
Right.
not something they were looking for.
Yeah, and with Haley, she was able to step to the outside, but could go in and rebound and score, inside, knock down threes as well, handled the ball for them some. But, Maddie, I think she does a lot of her scoring from the free throw line. She's just got that ability to be able to get into the lane. She really initiates the contact probably 90% of the time with the defender, but that's how you're taught to do it. You initiate that contact, and if you don't make the shot, you still get to the free throw line. If you do, you get the old-fashioned three-point play, and she's become a master at that.
She's so good at so many things. How do you even begin to game plan for her? That's where it starts for South Central Calhoun.
Yeah, I don't know for sure. I think the only thing you can maybe attempt to do, and I'm not trying to give anybody a game plan or anything, not that anybody's listening, but
they're stealing knowledge from KCIM Sports Rewind.
I would probably try to double her before she got the ball. I'd keep the ball out of her hands down on the end where you inbound it, and I'd double her all the way up and just keep the ball out of her hands. And if I was trying to coach against them, I'd make somebody else handle the ball. I'd make somebody else try to beat you, but that's still not going to work, because a lot of times she gets the defensive rebound and pushes. So it's hard to keep the ball out of her hands. But I'd limit her.
She's
I'd
smart
limit her
enough to
touches
stay out of those
as much
situations
as I can. Yeah.
A lot of her game is mental.
Yeah.
You've seen them try to face guard her, but both girls humble, quiet.
Right.
I mean, you wouldn't know that both of those girls were as talented as they are. They're just Haley will dig at you maybe a little more than Maddie will.
Yeah.
She'll have fun with you, but Maddie's a really shy girl. But both of them, wow, what tremendous kids.
Yeah, Northwestern might bring out a little of the shyness from Maddie, because it did to Haley. Haley was really quiet in high school, so they were similar in high school. Yeah.
You got the nice Haley in high school.
So Maddie Jones, leading scorer for South Central Calhoun in their history.
Yep.
Also got to go a little bit farther to the south, and one of the boys players around the area, Ben Obert, has that crown for Coon Rapids Bayard. I'm sure he beat out the immortal Cole Corson. Was that right?
I don't think Cole's in the top 30. But
I'm not sure Cole got 30.
That was Jeff Hunnell that said that.
But no, what a career that young guy has had. He has been amazing, and for him, it's been just simply working harder than probably everybody else. He has dedicated himself to being a great basketball player. He is in the gym all the time, working on shots, working on moves. I know Coach Meyer down there has really enjoyed getting the opportunity to coach him, because he's just one of those kids that he's a quiet, humble kid, very much like Maddie. But he's one of those kids that just wants to get in there and he wants to work, and I think he's just a joy to coach.
They've had some really good shooters go through there. John Tigges in the 80s went to Northwestern. He was a really good shooter. Both Tiggeses. Brian, not so much, but Waddles over the years. Yep. I mean, they've had Schleps. They've had some really, really good shooters go through that group. So to be the leader there is really, really impressive.
Well, Edgedor, Reese, just in the last 15 years, were some outstanding players.
So that's a big number.
Yeah, absolutely. And for him to be able to get that, it just tells you. He is going to be fantastic, I think, at the next level. He's got, probably the one area is the three-point shooting. He can do it, but that's probably the one area that I think he'll have to continue to probably work on. He's got a great ability to be able to get to the rim, create fouls. He can create in the lane. He's got a great mid-range jump shot. So I would think the one thing that he'll have to probably keep working on is that three-point shot.
That's workable because, you got anybody else that can hit three-point shots. You got another option out there. That almost works to his advantage.
Yep, absolutely. And, the neat thing is, too, though, is he has helped to bring kind of a young group up this year. They're sitting at 500. His younger brother Gabe's having a great year. Trenton Golay has really come on for him this year. He was talking to me the other day about really wanting to get a triple-double, which is kind of cool to see because that involves rebounds and getting the ball to other people to be able to score, too.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about scoring yourself. So, I like the job that Corey's done down there this year, and I think part of that is because Ben has kind of brought some excitement back to basketball.
Now, talk about the coaching, too, because that's the one thing they both have in common, too, is they have had some great coaches teaching them along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Corey, to me, is one of those guys that, I think is really well respected. You talk to Tim Bell, the former coach at Arweva. You talk to the guys down at Audubon. You talk to Matt Wilkin, that's currently over at Arweva, and Cole Corson over at Glidden. I mean, they all talk about how this guy gets his teams prepared. He always has a great game plan put together. He always has something that you're going to have to coach against, and that really says a lot. Plus, he's that guy that's willing to be in the gym all summer long with Ben, making sure he's getting his shots up and helping him out and working with him to become the player that he is. And then you look up north, you got to give Dave Burks a lot of credit. Eric Francis has had Maddie now the last 2 years and has done a tremendous job with that program over the last 2 years. But Dave had her early on and helped her with the little kids on and really kind of helped. And I have a feeling that her mom and dad were probably a part of that as well. I think she's been a competitive kid, and I think some of that started at home.
I know another name that is in the background for Corey Meyer is Mitch Osborne from Harlan. They kind of both grew up around, I think, the Pomeroy area.
Yeah, well, Corey played for him up at Palmer. Yeah, so, one of those guys that kind of learned from, the best on how to be able to play the game and how to be able to coach the game right.
And of course, Carroll High's coach also has that connection to Randy Beeson.
Yes, he does.
There's a lot of connections going on. You look at the Mitch Osborne tree. It's
growing.
Yeah, it's scary how much influence he has out there right now. But and he should. He's that good of a coach. It's, we're talking about a guy in our heart of our competitive area. I mean, they're you always seem to be a nemesis for Carroll and always in Kemper's conference. So, but man, one of the guys that knows how to do it, probably the best athletic director that we've seen in a long, long time as well.
And I if I remember correctly, I think Mitch just became the fourth winningest coach in Iowa high school basketball history last week too. Yeah. I did see some tweets about that. I think I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name, but he passed the guy that was a longtime coach and very successful up at Western Christian with all those state titles for all those years. So,
but what a Heckle and Hyde situation. I mean, you see him. As a person, he's a great person, but boy, you get him on the court, he's competitive. He's going to tear your heart out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know that the road for any sport goes through Harlan. There's a reason. Yeah. You may love that, you may hate that, but that's simply the way it works in Western Iowa.
Yeah, but super guy. Absolutely super guy.
As a visiting radio station, you couldn't ask for anybody nicer. I mean, he was always taking care of you, asking if you need anything. Yeah. You go to a lot of the other schools, they basically ignore you and say, hey, I got a problem. They're like, so, can't deal with it.
Yeah, he does that for the visiting team coming in as well.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just that good.
And the thing is he's got to get his team ready to go, but yet he's there to meet you at the door and make sure that you got everything
knows
you need.
Knows who you are and remembers everything. He's a great guy.
All right, so again, congratulations to Maddie Jones of South Central Calhoun, Ben Obert of Coon Rapids Baird on the outstanding milestones they reached this past week. Also, we got some other things to talk about. We got to talk about the rest of the week in high school sports. We're going to do that coming up next on KCIM Sports Rewind. KCIM Sports Rewind. Again, we're live streaming on Facebook this morning, so you can join us there. And looking for 1,000 views, and you can win a date with Jeff Blankman.
We're going to have
we're not going to get any views now.
We're going to have the lowest views we've ever had.
You'll get a free popcorn at the gym of your choice, and maybe we'll throw in a soda as well.
Oh, he's been pretty good about buying peanut M&Ms, too.
Oh, man, we are going all out.
He splurges.
Okay, well, take that chance here. At your own risk, watch.
Can they at least go in the company car? Because you don't want him in his pickup.
Hey, the pickup's clean.
At the rate we're going, this will be the lowest viewed Rewind program that we have.
Probably nobody watching it right now, I'm sure.
Jason and Chelsea are going, man, you're killing us. You're just killing us.
Hey, it was their idea, right?
They've been around long enough to know better by now.
Could have chose somebody much better to give them a date with, then we'd have been all right.
Hey, I turned off the fan for him. I'm trying to make him comfortable back there. So I've done all I can do.
Maybe you should turn it on so my hair blows a little bit,
A little Fabio shot?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Can we end now, please? Next.
Let's quickly talk about sports. Wrestling this week. South Central Calhoun, Emmetsburg getting together.
Yeah, South Central traveled up there last week to wrestle both Emmetsburg and Mance Northwest Webster, and really the Twin Lakes regular season championship was on the line. Ended up being kind of a tough night for the Titans. They would end up falling in both of those matches, so they're looking at third, maybe a fourth place finish in the conference right now. So a disappointing night for them with the great season that they have had so far. Them and ESAC wrestled up at the Twin Lakes Conference meet. They held that at BV over the weekend, which would have been really cool to be able to get to that one, but stayed here in town for the Kemper Dual tournament instead. But really neat tournament, really neat kind of a situation up there. Saw some pictures from it that would have been really cool. But the South Central there took fourth. It was ESAC finishing up in seventh. Chase McAllister was a champion for South Central Calhoun. His little brother, Blake McAllister, finished up in second place. For ESAC, Dawson Mack was a champion at 138. Garrett Bruce and Kip Corbin were both runner-ups. So, pretty good day. I think South Central, if they were them, probably finishing fourth was a little. I figured they would take home at least third, if not second there. So, I was a little surprised to see they finished fourth.
Wrestling a little different. We're getting down to the end of the season here.
We are
pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So what is it, 2 weeks or so?
Sectionals come up on February the 2nd, and then it'll be the district week the following weekend on the 9th. So yeah, it's going to be wrapping up here really, really soon.
Anything else in wrestling that you want to mention? I know Coon Rapids Bear was in a triangular last night.
Yeah, they were in a quad last night. Went over to Woodbine with Woodbine, West Harrison, and Audubon. Audubon came out of there as the victorious team along with Woodbine. Kind of an interesting night. There wasn't a lot of matches wrestled, a lot of double forfeits. None of those teams very full of wrestlers. Audubon, though, is so talented, especially through the kind of the middle up into the heavier weight division. Trace McHugh and Luke Mazinski, Dylan Obermeyer have been dominant for them all season long and dominated again last night. And Wesley Borkowski at 145 has really started to come on strong for them. He's wrestling really, really well. For Coon Rapids Bear, just a lack of numbers again, but Peyton Clipperton at 126 has been really good for them. Lane Nemani has been outstanding. Aaron McAllister had a good match, some good matches for them last night as well. It'll be interesting to see how they can do individually once, we get into the sectionals and districts and what their brackets will look like. Also, Audubon was up at the Kemper Dual tournament on Saturday. It was Kemper finishing up in fourth there. Missouri Valley went out and won it, and was Storm Lake in second place. But Ben Schmitz continues to dominate people at 113. Really did not get challenged all day. Shea Parkus has had a great year for them. And Zach Daniel was really wrestling very, very well. Had a really nice comeback win in one of his matches on Saturday. So those guys have really kind of stood out for me here over the last couple of weeks. And then for Carroll, they went to the Perry Invite on Saturday. Had a pretty good day. They're similar to Audubon in a way that their strength really is kind of the middle through the heavier weight area, especially kind of in the middle. Carter Drake at 120, I know that's a lighter weight, has really come on for them and is wrestling really well right now. Abraham Dirks at 145, and then you kind of get into that run with Parker Clucky and Luke Woosley at 160 and 170. Have really kind of been outstanding for those guys the last couple of weeks.
So about a little over 2.5 weeks or so until sectionals start.
Yeah.
Anybody really starting to step up right now as far as team-wise, individual-wise? Who's looking really good right now this season?
Well, team-wise, it's hard because most of our area teams just don't have numbers. Besides
the one team that gets the full roster is probably going to be sitting the best.
Yeah, South Central, ESAC, and Carroll, of course, probably the three teams that have the fullest rosters. And stuff. And team-wise, South Central had been looking really good until they lost up there at Emmitsburg the other day. And now, they're finished third or fourth. They're the team that was really trying to push, I think, to try and get into the dual tournament here at the end of the season. I think they'll be probably the team that will still have that opportunity. But I think now we're getting down to the point where we're probably going to have to start looking at individuals and individuals getting to state as an individual rather than as a team, because I don't know if we have any teams besides maybe South Central that have enough kids to be able to make a deep run come postseason time.
So once again, about 2.5 weeks to go, and it is going to be the second season for wrestling coming up. I refuse to use the P word right now. We don't want to get them too excited.
They don't have that. That's not called that.
Not in wrestling. It's not. Yeah.
All right. So we're going to talk some basketball, boys and girls basketball, coming up next on Rewind. You're listening to KCIM Sports Rewind. It's Sports Director Jeff Blankman, Jeff Honnold, and John Ryan along with you, live streaming this morning here on Facebook page with the help of Johnston Communications. Again, 1,000 views. We all know what's going to happen, so in case you missed it, you need to go back earlier in the show to find out.
I might just sit and pop on, pop off, just so somebody has to
the only problem is are they looking
You'll win the date.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't win the date.
I've had enough dates and queued at ball games. I'm broadcasting this, so at least I can get paid for being on a date.
Your IP address comes up, no.
We, by the way, have talked a little basketball going on here from this final segment, and let's talk about ESAC has taken on both Kemper and now Carroll High.
Yeah, rallied back the Saturday before to knock off Kemper, controlled the second half after really Kemper dominated the first half, and then this past Saturday took on the Carroll Tigers in a boys-only matchup, and what a great game that ended up being. Carroll ended up, the largest lead of the game was the final score at 65-59. It was really tight throughout. ESAC came out kind of early on and kind of took it to him. Brandon Clare was just a force inside, and they could not stop him. Got things going and were pounding the ball inside to him, and then they did a great job of when Carroll would try to collapse on him a little bit, he'd kick it out, and they'd get the dribble drive off the pump fake and either make the shot or find another guy for the open shot. And they controlled the first quarter. Carroll kind of started rallying back late in that first quarter. And then Carroll grabbed the lead in the second quarter, got up by 5, and then the next thing you know, ESAC went on a 7-0 run, took a 2-point lead, and then it kind of bounced back and forth, and Carroll was up 2 at halftime. The second half was really exactly the same way. Carroll would go on a little run, then ESAC would go on a run, but just a well-played game. Carroll able to knock down some threes. Carter Lean kept him in the game early on, knocking down some threes. I think scoring at the end of the first quarter, if I remember right, was either 10 or 12 for Brandon Clare and 9 for Carter Lean. Those two guys were kind of having a score-off in a way of which guy was going to be able to score more. I think Boom came in and came off of the bench and brought some energy. Was able to take the ball to the hole, and that started creating a little bit of problems for that ESAC 2-3 zone. Just a terrific game. And I like the conversation I had with Coach Bontrager after the game. It was brief, didn't do an interview, of course, because we didn't do the game, but just caught up with him as he was getting ready to leave. And he's like, this will make us better for the Twin Lakes Conference. I
was going to say, what does it do for those teams coming out of it? ESAC, what they take out of it.
Yeah, I think for them, I think it helped them see them. They hadn't really been challenged as of late. And they've got some good teams coming up on the rest of the schedule. South Central, one of those here in a couple of weeks. But I think they felt like they needed to be challenged. They needed to go out and play somebody really good that was maybe better than them. And that's what Carroll High was. For Carroll, I think it was kind of maybe a little bit of a wake-up call a little bit. They've been kind of dominating. Well, they've been dominating teams in the Raccoon River of this last week. Blew out Ballard, blew out Carlisle, had really been playing pretty well. And then they came out and maybe not 100% as focused as what they needed to be early on in the basketball game. And I think that's a good thing for Coach Beeson to be able to point at and say, you're going to get everybody's best shot. You're a ranked team. You're ranked 8th in the state. You've got one loss on the season. You better be ready at the beginning of every game to come out and kind of match or have a little more intensity than what everybody else is going to have.
Yeah, you got to forget the names on the uniforms.
Yeah.
You're out there to play your best game, and certainly ESAC gave them everything they could handle that night. So, terrific matchup, and I love seeing those matchups.
Yeah, and it's the first time I think you've noticed the loss of Chase Gladden for them defensively. Carroll just didn't have. Slade Siebenaller did really well in the second half against Brandon, and he's that guy that he's not a real big guy, but he's not afraid to play a real physical style of basketball. He's just a solid kid, for a freshman. But they missed that big body inside of Chase being able to get in there and bang with Brandon Clare.
We're talking about a solid kid.
Yeah.
I mean, Chase Gladden he's not much a kid anymore. He's kind of getting into that man role.
Yeah.
But, you're not going to push him out very easy. And
No.
I think you're right. I think that's where that broken hand is a really big deal.
By the way, we got about 3 minutes left. We can't go over because the governor's got to take over for the State of the State speech. So just a quick outline here. What else highlights the week in basketball for you?
Well, some of the things that jump off for me is coming up tomorrow night, or actually tonight. Today's Tuesday already. Are Weeva going to be taking on Exira Elkhorn-Kimballton on the road? This is a huge one for both the girls and the boys. Right now, Exira Elkhorn-Kimballton is, after a slow start, has started to come on a little bit. They lost to Arweva 47-36 back in early December in girls, but this is a battle right now. They've got 5 teams kind of vying for first place, all with 2 or 1 losses, and these are 2 of those. So they both need to win to be able to stay in that conference hunt with Cam and Ida probably. And on the boys' side of things, Arweva able to get by Exira Elkhorn-Kimballton back in early December. Exira has really started to come on, including blowing out a very good Audubon ball club on Saturday. So this might be the game that determines whether Arweva is your outright conference champions or have to share that conference championship with the Spartans.
Anything else?
I think for Carroll, for the girls, I look at them and I think the matchup Friday with Bondurant for tonight they're on the road up at Storm Lake, non-conference matchup, kind of a way for maybe both of them to right the ship a little bit. That boys matchup should be really interesting. But
the Storm Lake's been better.
They have been, yeah, and they're a good ball club this year, so I think that'll be a nice challenge. I think they got 4 losses, if I remember right, coming into it. But the Bondurant matchup for the girls is the interesting one for me, simply because Carroll came into that first matchup early in the year 4-0, riding a high after beating Denison Schleswig. That loss to me started what I don't know if you want to call it a slide, but they're 2-6. After that loss to Bondurant for they're sitting 6-6 on the season. Now they got to go on the road. They're starting the second half run in the conference. If they want to start moving up that conference race and get back into the middle of the pack, get back into the upper division, I think it starts on Friday night, and that Bondurant game is one that can kind of maybe turn that ship back around for them a little bit.
You see what you've learned from the first half and apply that to the second half.
Yeah, absolutely. Also like the matchup with the Glidden boys against Peyton Jourdan coming up on Friday night this week as well. Glidden had a chance maybe to get a win on Monday night, but their game against Iowa Christian Academy got moved to January the 24th. So they'll take on a Peyton Jourdan team that's really young. Did beat them the first time around, but with 2 wins on the year, this would be a chance for the Glidden Ralston boys to be able to pick up that first win of the year.
So, again, that's all coming up once again. We got a lot to talk about here in the next couple of weeks. Things are going to get interesting heading out of the playoffs in a couple of weeks here.
Yeah, absolutely. Brackets for the girls should come out here in the next week or 2, probably sometime late next week, and then the boys would be shortly after that. So hopefully we start to see that stuff here soon.
All right, everybody needs to get online and watch the video. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, wake Grandma up, have her get on.
How are you going to determine who is the winner?
I want no part of this. I am not punishing anybody.
Yeah. Jeff Honnold and I will determine the winner.
Okay, you mean the loser. You mean the loser, right? The
free date,
person that gets
free
stuck.
date with the dreamy Jeff Blankman. Log on now,
How
people.
did I get sucked into this?
Voting begins soon. And
I blame you guys.
That is KCIM Sports Rewind.